Today might be the most exciting video of the entire year because I finally have the newly redesigned GX 550 at my fingertips. And today we're gonna go into it in great detail. But before I get into it, make sure you hit like and subscribe for more Lexus related content. Let's get into driving it first because that's really where having the car here means the most. Okay, so far very smooth. Now this is my first actual driving experience in the GX. I did that on purpose so that today could be the most candid experience or reaction to the new GX. I have sat in it and I have been a passenger. I just haven't driven it myself. So this will be sort of, yeah, a first look for me, which I'm really excited about. Before I start driving, I have to get my sunglasses on because we're gonna be driving into the sun a little bit. Shout out to Natalie for hooking me up with these sunglasses. I really appreciate that. And let's go, we'll get right to it. So the one that we're driving today is a luxury package. So it's not the Overtrail, it's not the base model, it's nicely equipped. And already we're not even out of the parking lot yet, and I have a couple things I gotta say. So one of them is the hood lines. Hood lines are really important to me. I like to see the hood. It's like one of the reasons I like things like, you know, the G-Wagon or some of the Jeeps that have like, you know, decorations on the hood that you can see. And there's these two really big vision lines. And actually I can see almost the whole hood right now, which is really nice. And also the dashboard being small is a really nice part of the experience. Little bit of a roar there, nothing like the old one. The old GX, when you started up, a selling feature that salespeople were actually trained on was the roar that it gave you when you first started it up. This one, the roar is very different. But it's still there. There's still a little roar, I guess. Oh my gosh, this car is so smooth. Okay, so I just downshifted using the paddles a few times. It did take a second to actually go through those gears. Like, I hit it twice, it went to second gear, and then went to first gear. Like, there was a bit of like, it held for a bit, but I'm sure that's on purpose. It's not a Porsche 911. It's not gonna just smash into those gears. Let's get on the highway. Oh my God, it already feels so good. I even said as I was like prepping for this video that this might be a video that costs me money because I'm gonna want to buy one. And that's the thing with some of the other vehicles in this class that Lexus has had before. Like, to me, the LX, especially the last generation LX, the previous generation LX I should say, felt really big. And even the previous generation GX to me felt really big, and this feels really manageable. Even though it is big, it's just, it feels good when you actually have to like move it around. Just gonna accelerate to the corner here. The suspension is all redone, so it should be the best ride in a GX that I've ever had, which so far it is. I'm just gonna punch it on the highway. We're gonna get up to highway speeds, and it's actually a little bit of a corner, so we'll see how that goes. Oh my God, it handles so good on that corner. And punch. Okay, that's not bad. Yeah, the shifting didn't feel super aggressive. Definitely felt like the new transmissions do, where you don't necessarily feel that gear change. You just see it in your RPMs. Well, pretty good. We're gonna get off. Not much wind noise, a little bit. Not any more than any other Lexus that I've driven, which is good. And we're gonna test out the braking a little bit here. None of this is surprising to me, guys. It feels amazing. Really smooth, getting on the highway, still lots of get up and go. Twin turbo V6 powertrain. You can't really hear or feel the turbos. Like, it just feels like an engine, I would say. The more I look at the dashboard, the more I like it because it's just so compact. I did just notice, so it has heads-up display, but it doesn't have the new buttons, like the soft touch buttons. Or the intelligent buttons. These are just regular steering wheel controls. So it could be, maybe that's some feedback from people, I'm not sure. Or Lexus maybe didn't want to do that on the GX because the GX is supposed to be a bit more rugged and a little bit less refined than some of those other cars, like the RX, for instance. So we have the true buttons on here, which I know people will like, and also the driver monitoring system. Okay, so I have the bird's eye view on right now because the luxury package has that. The front facing camera isn't blocked off. So that's something I'm seeing across the lineup right now. It used to be that the front facing cameras on all these cars was kind of blocked off, and that's not happening, which is nice. There is some grunt, like you can hear the intake a little bit when you step on it, but when you're just cruising, you don't really hear it. The vision itself, like the blind spots and stuff, it feels really big, like in terms of the windows. Passenger and driver window are both really squared. The whole vehicle itself is really squared off, let's be honest. Headroom, I have lots of headroom above me. Even checking my blind spot, like the windows back there are large as well. The mirrors are in portrait mode, in my opinion. I hope that makes sense. So what I mean by that is usually your mirrors are like wide, like landscape mode on your phone, and these ones are portrait mode. They're kind of like up and down. Does it seem to give me any more vision? I guess maybe, I don't know. I'd have to compare it to another car, like driving back to back. But for this, yeah, it's just different, I guess. It's a big mirror. The interior feels like it's got a lot of space when you're driving. Like there's a lot of room in between me and the passenger. Right now I have it on normal mode. I am gonna flip it over to sport because I wanna feel if it changes the bumps. And right away I feel like you can actually hear it in my voice that you can feel the bumps more now. So it's got adaptive suspension, so that'll be why. Feels tighter. I'm in a community safety zone, so I'm not gonna like punch it at the moment. But let's just do a little bit. Yeah, okay, so sport mode, just like all the other cars, makes it a little touchier gas. I probably can hear a little bit more grunt. I don't know if that's fake grunt. Okay, I can hear a lot more grunt in sport mode. So it's probably piped into the speakers or through the intake, I'm not sure. Either way, that's fine. And I did notice too, so when I go through drive modes, the button is right here in the center. And where the shifter is, I can just rest my hand on the shifter to use. If you spin the mode select all the way left, it doesn't just keep cycling through the modes. So that's interesting. Instead, it just stops at eco. And then if I go to the right, it goes normal. If I go to the right again, it goes sport. And then if I go to the right again, it's just stopped. So it isn't just a wheel of drive modes, which I guess is so that you can actually like know which mode you're putting it in instead of just constantly cycling through them. And we have a drive mode button below that, an ECT second, which I'm not going to use. A tow haul mode, again, I'm not going to use that right now. We also have a locking center diff and a low 4. So we're just in high 4 because we don't need any of that right now. I do have all the safety features on, so things like proactive driving assist, which is one of my favorites. And also, a little surprise for everybody, mainly just a surprise for me. In the screen, if I go to seat controls, I have massaging seats. So I'm gonna put it on centripetal or centrifugal, let's see. I'm gonna do centrifugal. And now, I'm getting a massage right now. And it feels really good. It's probably up there with like the LS 500 and the massage that those seats give. It's not just vibrating, it's actually like pushing on points of my back. So the setting it's on right now, it's sort of starting at the top of my back and then going down, sort of like down my leg, and then turning around and coming back up. Really good for things like driver fatigue and those long road trips. Is it gonna work out the knots in your back from riding motorcycles all day or rock climbing or whatever everybody does? Probably not. But for right now, even if it's an entertainment factor, it's fun. I like it. You can do lumbar, you can do upper body. There's a bunch of different settings, intensities. That's on this package and higher. And then on the Overtrail, you have to go to Overtrail Plus for that. And it does both front seats. The heads-up display is really good. It has, right now it's telling me the speed limit because it has the sign assist. It's showing me my speed, which is the speed limit. Almost got caught there. Radar cruise control, what gear I'm in. It shows the lane departure. It's really clear. It's just above the hood. This is a truck that you could drive in the city or in the country or off-road from what I'm experiencing right now. I do wish there was a comfort setting for the suspension to really make it that sloppy, soft ride. I don't know if the other packages have that because I haven't seen them yet. Overall, I mean, it's still pretty smooth. Honestly, it doesn't feel very truck-like, which is, I mean that in a good way. I don't mean that in like a bad way at all. Seating position, it is very upright, which I find, and that's nice. It also has an armrest that doesn't slide, but it's placed in a good spot. The shifter is like the traditional, really comfortable, you can use your thumb to push it in shifter. Actually, one of our good Lexus guests, Adam, said his favorite feature was the shifter, which I thought was pretty cool. So he's gonna be buying one of these soon. Okay, so turning radius seems pretty good. I don't know if this is one of those traction controls where it's applying brakes to the inside tire. It doesn't have four-wheel steering, but the suspension is, like I said, updated. So that must mean the steering and suspension usually go hand in hand together. And you know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna go and do like a little bit of an acceleration from 0, and we'll kind of see how that looks. Okay, sunglasses off, sport mode. There is a boat moving beside me, so it looks like we're going backwards right now, but we're not. All the people in the boat are gonna watch the GX launch right now. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Ooh, there's that shift. Okay, sport mode, the shift is really, really good. And even better, we beat the boat in a drag race. That is the first time on this YouTube channel that I raced a boat in the canal. This is probably gonna be a new pastime of mine. Maybe I'll get some trophies made, something along that line. If he knew we were racing, he might have beat me. I don't know. But yeah, really happy with that transmission. Okay, so while we're getting to our destination, I did just notice it has the holy crap handles on the A-pillar as well as the roof. Now you're not gonna hold both at the same time, but maybe you are. I don't know, that'd be a really big holy crap moment. If we were off-roading right now, which this isn't just like a car that says it can off-road, apparently. It is one that can off-road. You would want that stability of grabbing that. So that's very practical. The sport mode is probably the mode I'm gonna drive this car in because the sound of the engine sounds so good. In the normal mode, not being able to hear it was a little disappointing. I guess if I was just driving in the city every day or like not on a test drive like this, maybe I would want to be alone with my thoughts. Or my radio would probably be too cranked to notice anyway. But right now for this, I'm just leaving it in sport mode because I like the sound so much. Okay, so I found a patch of kind of like loose sand. I'm at like a very busy beach on like a really nice day. So I just wanted to see how it would do. Oh my God, it's so smooth. It's like nothing. And when I first pulled up here, I was like, okay, is this gonna be like a viral video of me getting this thing stuck in like an inch of sand? But it's really good. This might be like a new test area for me. Oh yeah, the sand is really working out well. And this is where the GX is home, is in like a little bit of off-road condition where like you're camping with your friends and you don't have to choose like comfort versus like being able to use it for cool stuff like off-roading or driving through like sand and beach and stuff. It's best of both worlds. And that's where the GX comes in. And that's why people love things like the G-Wagon and the Land Cruiser, is you can do both with it and you can do it well. This truck, you could drive off-road and like overland for a couple days, and people do that in like Mexico on the beaches and in the trails, and they'll pretty much live in their GX. And the new GX is doing that, but just a level up, which is really nice. So good job, Lexus. This thing is sweet. Design language and modern cars has taken a full 360, I guess it's more like a 180, and is more squared off. So instead of that protruding grille, we have almost a straight up and down cutoff from what we had before. We're seeing this a lot in the industry right now, where being a big square box body is sort of the trendy thing to do right now. So this grille itself has shrunken down quite a bit. It still has a similar recognizable shape. Like if you traced the outside of this, it still has a few similarities to the other Lexus grille, but the actual center bread part of it is very new. So instead of having that F-Sport style of the little hatchings or those little Lexus emblems, it's sort of just a straight across feature. Now we do still have some new amenities like the front-facing camera, the heated Lexus emblem. Actually, the front-facing camera was on the other one. It just had a little bit of a block to it. And then underneath that grille, we have paint again. So we have a painted section of the bumper that's sort of wrapped around from the side and a lot of vents there. In fact, this new front grille has a ton of vents, and I think that's why they could do it without having it be like that wedge design for the air to flow. Then underneath that, we have a little bit of paint and some off to the side as well. And even when I stand to the side, even as it starts to edge off towards the fender, it doesn't really have a whole lot of angles. It's a little bit of an angle with a washer as well. So we have that washer, but even when you look at that headlight assembly, even that is more long and less sort of like blocky in the center of it. And the new daytime running light with the triple beam LED headlights above it. A little bit of fake venting off underneath that, some parking sensors, some fog lights. The hood itself is a big change. So now we have this big vision line that goes from the front to the back, and you can actually see that while driving it. I demonstrated that quite well, and I really liked that. And the profile of the hood seems a lot longer because it's less on an angle. And that's not all. Underneath the hood of the new GX550, we have the twin turbo 3.4 liter V6 with well over 100 more foot-pounds of torque, better fuel economy, a 10-speed transmission, as well as just updated tech. The first thing you'll notice is the wheels are a 22-inch with that Dunlop tire. And again, this is the luxury package, so it has a little bit less aggressive of a tire. In things like the Overtrail, we see a big knobby off-road tire. Behind here, we have on some packages the new KDSS system, where there'll be a lot of travel for things like off-roading, and also a really smooth ride for those city or country roads where you're trying to just get the most out of your drive. We have these nice fender flares, and even that profile of that front fender is very squared off and long and gives it that sort of different profile than what we've seen in the past. However, the biggest change to the eye when you look at it is this windshield. So because of everything is all so squared off, the windshield is a really straight up and down. Reminds me a lot of the G-Wagon or the FJ Cruiser. Instead of that wedge shape, it is a little bit more up and down. And I think that that's why the hood has some extra aero to get that airflow sort of going above it. The truck itself is really tall, so even this front window, you can see I'm 6'1", that roof line is above me, and as we go to the back, it sort of just stays the same, with a little bit of a body line that sort of, dips a little bit towards the front of the vehicle and a chiseled line towards the back. The doors themselves are super solid and heavy. In fact, it's rare that a newer vehicle has a heavier door than the previous model, and this GX definitely feels heavier than the previous one. The mirrors are kind of funny because it almost feels like I've put them from landscape mode to portrait mode, and that's the difference between the old one, is this GX has a vertical mirror. I don't know the reason for that. I haven't learned it, but I'm sure there is a reason, and I'll find that out in the future and maybe do a video on it. For me, I don't see there to be any particular benefit to it other than just being a little bit different. However, I could be missing the boat on that one. I'm not sure. So the floorboards do stick out a little bit more, and for me personally, seem to be more useful. And I mean getting in and out of the front seat, getting in and out of that third row. For me, being 6'1", I can actually use these ones because they stick out enough for me to do so. For whatever that's worth, I think it's worth pointing out. So the back of the new GX has this new taillight design. It has a lot of good angles to it, and in fact, from very far away, you can definitely see that it is a GX. So it goes from one side to the other, and the main part is actually the center, which is very different from some of the new Lexus models where the main part is actually off to the combination lights on the side. Above that, we have the new Lexus emblem, LEXUS, and the GX550 down in the side there. We also have this nice step/shelf, so when you're loading stuff in, you have something for it, but it's also grippy enough that you could stand on top of it if you had to. And then this massive cover for the hitch area. And I do mean massive. You can see that from a mile away. It kind of looks like an afterthought, but also just kind of looks like it was there for a reason, and that reason is not beauty. Super pumped that Lexus has the little doggy gate, as I call it, So if you have your golden doodle in the back seat and you want to be able to quickly get at him or her, you can do so. Or if you just don't want to wait for that hatch to open and you just want to throw something quickly back there, you can do it. I personally use that for a dealer plate, but not everybody's trying to sell one of these. Some of you are actually trying to drive it every single day. And for those people, I'm jealous. In the back, we have a very large cavern. So a very squared off section here. We can fold up and down the rear seats with some switches off to the side. But I will say when those rear seats are up, we just have a little sliver of space behind them. A lot of people aren't really buying this to have the third row end space. It's more for the other features that the GX has. And then we have a little 120 volt plug off to the side there. And some cargo covers and stuff like that go in it as well. So sitting in the GX 550, obviously technologically, we're gonna see some improvements here. But first and foremost, the actual layout is totally night and day different. And what I mean by that is the smaller dashboard really gives me that G-Wagon vibe. I've said it multiple times even when I was driving it, or the FJ Cruiser vibe where it's just smaller, it's simpler. There's not many switches and buttons that you have to learn. It's all integrated into the screen. There is this little shelf here that you can put things, but other than that, the dashboard is quite small. On this luxury package, we have a heads-up display with not the newest style intelligent buttons, but physical buttons on the steering wheel to be able to control that, really easy to use. In the center, we have an armrest that lifts up. Some of them have a cool box, this one does not. We have a wireless charger beside that. And then this really cool sliding trap door to be able to cover up our cup holders. And I think that's really nice because just like the old GX, you can cover up things that you're not using and keep things looking clean and tidy. Then we have another trap door to get your classic, really old 12 volt, a little adapter. We have some USB-Cs above that. A nice shift knob that reminds me of the ES350 and the LS, where it's just solid. It's a nice sort of height to be able to rest as you drive. Electronic parking brake, where the last one didn't have that. High, low, and 4 low, a locking differential button, and then some drive mode selects here. Other than that, almost everything is integrated into the screen. Things like heated and cooled seats, massaging seats on these front ones in this capacity, in this package, and the massaging seats do a really great job, as you saw. We have the panel view monitor button, and then off to the left, things like the button for the rear outlet, the power trunk, and then you could turn off the parking sensors. But other than that, there's not a whole lot going on up here. Yes, we have all the new safety things like, adaptive variable cruise control. We have the proactive driving assist. We have the lane change assist. We have the road sign assist. All of those things, of course, are into that screen. The materials themselves aren't over the top luxury. Like, they're not super soft touch. They are rugged, and there are aluminum and things like that. It's a black headliner. We have some buttons up top for things like SOS and the power sunroof. But for the most part, it's just a condensed, more calming interior that feels more spacious, and it isn't more spacious, in fact. It's wider, and also it doesn't feel as claustrophobic. The seating position is upright. I can see the hood, which I think is super amazing. And overall, an obvious upgrade from the previous one. Okay, so in the back seat of the GX 550, we do have some hater blockers, which is super important to me when I'm being chauffeured around. And those go up and down, and even in the spot where they don't cover on the glass, you do see some tint there as well, which is a really nice touch. The doors themselves are super solid, and Lexus did a good job of inserting some color into that panel. They didn't have to match the rest of the seats. I have decent space in front of me. I don't have any screens or anything like that, but I do have heated seats, and in some package cooled seats, some climate controls, USB-Cs, and an armrest that comes down with just some cup holders. Nothing fancy, no flaps or anything like that. Overall, a really good, comfortable seat. The leather is very high quality. The vision lines are good. I wouldn't feel claustrophobic or anything in here. And there's really not much to write home about other than that.